Yeah, my name's Keith Bown, VP for winemaking at Vincor Canada. Been on the job for 6 months now, with Vincor Canada. But 22 years experience in the wine industry. As a winemaker, started with a small company in Adelaide, Australia, and graduated from Roseworthy back in '86. And takes me up to where we are today. Just I guess a long track record in the wine industry, in winemaking, and I came to Canada. The guys at Vincor called me, asked me to if I'd be interested in taking a look at the job, look at the opportunity that was there, and I'm very pleased with the decision that I made. My responsibilities extend across Canada, so I'm based in Niagara Falls, in Ontario, at the Niagara Falls cellar, but responsible for 3 estate wineries in the Niagara Peninsula. That's Inniskillen, Jackson Triggs, and Le Clos Jourdain, and 5 estate wineries in the Okanagan Valley, Invermere Cellars, Sumac Ridge, Inniskillen, Okanagan, and Jackson Triggs, Okanagan, and also use La Rose, which is a joint venture in the Okanagan. Lots of challenges there. There's a fair bit of travelling involved in the job, but certainly working with a group of very experienced, good quality winemakers. Targeting, raising the quality of Canadian wines, and a lot of people tend to think of Canada and wine, and the first thing that comes to mind is ice wine, and certainly there's an understanding and there's an establishment that Canada can make some pretty exciting ice wines, but the target or the direction forward is to take brands such as Jackson Triggs out to the world as known at, or to get them known as sort of quality winemaking producers, and that's what I'm here for. I guess certainly I can understand sort of North America looking to Australia for winemakers for some experience and for some quality winemakers. Undoubtedly Australia has, certainly over the past 10 to 15 years, have produced some pretty exceptional wines that have, made quite a loud noise on the world winemaking stage. And there's certainly that sort of desire to go to Australia and look for winemakers of that sort of caliber. And certainly Australia has built that reputation of being able to be very innovative, and I think we have the freedom in Australia. We certainly have the climate, but we have the freedom and the absence of restrictions that old world winemakers have to work with. We have the freedom to go out and experiment and just try new technology and to try new yeast, new great varieties, and really just explore the world of wine without any restrictions.
I'm wondering if you are going to affect the mood at the Vincor properties of pushing more of the wines to screw cap.
Yeah, certainly. I can understand the question. In the wine industry, or in any industry, the level of failure that occurs within cork and cork taint is unacceptable. In any other produce that you get out there, and the level of failure that we do actually accept in the wine industry is quite extreme. And I guess screw cap is seen, certainly in Australia, as a good opportunity to sort of remedy some of those problems that you find with cork. Certainly my thoughts, and I'll be quite honest with you, I can go back 10 years and I was very anti screw cap. Over the last 10 years, I can say that I've seen the benefits, I guess, that you get with screw cap. I can see the satisfaction that you can actually get, and the confidence you can open up wines without sort of having that question mark over it. Is there some sort of cork problem here? Is there a problem? So yeah, there will be some influence as far as I'm concerned in Vincor Canada in pushing towards using alternative closures like screw caps to eliminate that failure rate that we do see out there. Yeah, I mean, certainly my responsibility for Vincor Canada covers the whole of Canada. I spend most of my time in Ontario. That is where I'm based, on the Niagara Peninsula, and I guess the rationale behind that is there's more challenges for the Niagara region, both in grape growing and winemaking. It's a much cooler, wetter climate, so it's a little bit harder to fully ripen and to make wines in that region. So my schedule is pretty much 3/4 of my time in Ontario, 1/4 of my time in the Okanagan Valley. And when I come out to the Okanagan Valley, I will spend, or I generally try to spend a day, between a day or a half a day and a day with each of the winemakers at the estate. So I'll go into Sumac region, spend a day with the winemakers there. I'll go to JT and spend a day with the winemakers there. I'll generally spend half a day with Sandor at Inniskillin, and half a day with Randy at Inkermeep, and half a day with Osoyoos La Rose with Pascal there. So that kind of covers off most of my week, and a bit of time in between there out with the Viti guys, just sort of catching up with vineyards and seeing how things are growing and how the vineyard developments are going out there.
One of the finest winemakers in the Northwest in our history of the magazine, which was 10 years, was Bruce Nicholson, who was at Jackson Triggs.
Yes.
And now I suspect you're working rather closely with him. Can you tell us about his relatively new position there and what your relationship is with Bruce?
Sure. Bruce Nicholson, as you mentioned, he's spent a long time in the Okanagan Valley at Jackson Triggs, and as a world-renowned Canadian winemaker for his work and effort at Jackson Triggs. And Bruce made the decision to return to his roots, to return to Ontario when the opportunity at Inniskillin came up. And now Bruce is, I guess, expanding his experience and certainly sharing his knowledge as far as ice wine production is concerned. And Inniskillin has got that high reputation of being the world's best ice wine producer, and Bruce is heading up that. Bruce reports directly to me, and certainly we work together as far as expanding the Inniskillin portfolio. Inniskillin does have a world reputation for ice wine, but we'd also like to see that reputation expand, and this part of Bruce's responsibility is to expand that responsibility in the production of top quality Pinot Gris, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, plus a few Meritage blends as well.
All right.
The Okanagan is in an incredibly young region. Only been sort of really producing wines, as I mentioned, sort of 10 to 15 years, and it's a supply and demand issue. I work for Vincor Canada. I'm based in Ontario, and I struggle to get British Columbia wines. I struggle to get British Columbian Vincor wines. So it is very difficult, and that is just the situation that there is just that lack of supply. There's a lack of fruit in the Okanagan Valley to supply quite a huge demand, and Vancouver soaks up a lot of that demand pretty quickly, so there's not a lot left to go out of state, as it were. That supply and demand issue, I guess, is slowly being remedied. Planting of vineyards has certainly expanded the availability of wines, and I guess give it a few more years and they'll certainly the supply will be a lot better than it has been in the past.